Hello world, it's Birdo Prey 5, Qapla, and welcome to my review of Star Trek Discovery, Season 4, Episode 4, All is Possible. And let me tell you, one of the most beloved things I noticed before this even started is we finally have a skip button. We can skip the previous last on Discovery, but even more importantly, we can finally skip the opening credit. You don't have to sit through the opening credits on Paramount Plus anymore. You can skip right over them. And let me tell you, that was really needed. I only hope it's available on the older videos as well. This episode starts out 1 week after last week's. Michael Burnham does a captain's log, says it's been a week since her mission with the Qapla, and we're told that no other inhabited worlds have been threatened yet by this gravity anomaly, but it could change at any second because they don't know how this thing moves, except that I guess it moves instantly. At any moment it could threaten some other planet. And let me tell you, I'm telling you that planet is going to be Earth by the end of this season. Watch my words. We get one mention of Stamets in this whole episode. He's looking at maps. He won't slow down. He wants to solve this for everybody, but he wants to solve this especially for Book, because Stamets and Book became such good friends. Also, we hear Book, even though he had a mind meld last week and looked like he was doing great, we find out the mind meld it didn't really take. He's falling further away again. Then Saru comes in and says that Admiral Vance has gotten ill with some type of stomach worm, and it's a nasty thing. They need the worm to gestate before they extract it. Anyway, they want Michael and Saru to go to Navarre to sit in for Admiral Vance for the last part of these negotiations, because Navarre is on the fast track to rejoining the Federation. Apparently the fast track means 1 week. 1 week. I don't fucking believe it. Okay, there's no way, even 1,000 years in the future, bureaucracy is going to allow a 1 week fast track to rejoin something as complicated as the Federation. But apparently that's what we're supposed to believe. So Michael's like, I don't think we should really go. We got, urgent shit to do. We're working on the burn. Well, not the burn, the gravitation anomaly, and it could strike any planet any time. I think that's a little more important, as would anybody. And Saru's like, here's the thing. She didn't really imply we had a choice. So it was like, get your ass to Navarre and sit down where Admiral Vance would sit. Both of us. So that's what they're going to do. Meantime, Dr. Culber is pretending to be Counselor Troy. And man, is he doing a good job at it. Better than Counselor Troy ever did. And I wonder if I tweeted to Marina Sirtis and said, Dr. Culber, great counselor or greatest counselor ever, what would she do? Because if she doesn't admit he's the greatest counselor ever, it's clearly she hates gay people. But if she admits he's the greatest counselor ever, then she hates women. So I don't know. What do you think she'd do? If it was anybody but Wilson Cruz, who is a piece of human garbage, for blocking me when I've had not one Never did I message him. Did I say anything about him? I never did anything about him, said anything about him until I found out I was blocked by him. And it was only then that I start my crusade against Wilson Cruz, human trash. So I actually wonder, had it been anybody but Wilson Cruz, would I care? Probably not. Probably not. I am kind of curious what Marina Sirtis has to say. Maybe I will tweet her. We'll see. Anyway, so the first person Wilson Cruz, Dr. Culber, is fixing up is Tilly. Tilly is one of his longest serving patients, which is like 3 weeks. Anyway, he tells Tilly that she needs to take a detour, and she's like, well, I hunted with a nun. I ate food I hate. Right, because she hates, right, we're supposed to believe she hates macaroni and cheese. She's taking baby steps, but she really needs something challenging. She's like, maybe she could volunteer in astrometrics or study medicine. And that puts the alarms up. It's like, yeah, you better not study medicine, Tilly. He's like, you better clear your mind first. She's like, I can't clear my mind. That's the problem. He says, Dr. Kovich came to me. The Dr. Kovich, the best part of season 3. He wears a black uniform. We thought he was Section 31 or the Time Police. Well, it turns out Dr. Kovich is in charge of Starfleet Academy, and he really wanted somebody from Discovery to consult with him on Starfleet Academy. And so I guess it got to Dr. Culber, and Dr. Culber sends Tilly, and Tilly's like, when am I ever going to get time to do this? And he's like, well, Michael is ordering everybody to take downtime, which was something Dr. Culber ordered her to do. So Tilly's downtime is going to be working for Starfleet Academy. That doesn't make much sense. That seems like work. Oh, and then he asks Tilly to do a favor for him. And the favor he has Tilly to do is to order Adira to go with her to this thing with Dr. Kovich. So this is another patient of his, which you would think he's not supposed to, granted, he's not telling a secret, but it seems a little close. So we get an update on Adira and Gray. It seems like they're sharing quarters, like I brought up last week. Like, is this appropriate? I guess, why not? Why not? So then we get a view of the Discovery shuttle bay, which looks like it's busier than Grand Central Station in New York City, which makes no sense because everything is in transporter range. Why would you need 1,000 shuttles when you have transporters that do everything? If anything, you would be less shuttles in the future. So Dr. Kovich is on board the Discovery and says, Ensign Tal, you'll be on Shuttlecraft 11. Why don't you go introduce yourself? And see, Adira thinks that she's there as Tilly's number one, but it turns out Adira is there just as any other cadet. So Kovich is telling us now that even though Starfleet Academy gets the best and the brightest of every species, they don't work together. They can't work together. That after the burn, nobody is used to working with other species. So Tilly is realizing that this is actually a very important mission. He's like, it is. This is about the future of Starfleet. So Tilly is going to take him on a duel. Tilly is going to take him on a basic planetary analysis mission, which is, of course, being done on a moon, not a planet, but whatever. No big deal. Tilly is, as usual, overexcited. Meanwhile, on their way, a rogue gamma ray burst takes out the shuttle. Just boom. All of a sudden, they're flying, boom, they're crashing. A rogue gamma ray burst. Well, what is a rogue gamma ray burst? Well, number one, there are things that are real and happen. But here's the thing. They are sublight, which means if the gamma ray burst took place 2 light years away, then it happened 2 years ago. There is no way they got hit with a gamma ray that just happened, because for that to happen, they would have to fly inexplicably close to a black hole or supernova. And they're not that stupid. Even Tilly is not that stupid on a ship full of cadets to fly next to a black hole or a supernova. So then where did these gamma rays should have been charted for years? Okay, more than likely it happened 10 or 100 light years away. Okay, there's no such thing as a rogue gamma ray burst when you have faster than light sensors. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, then we hear some nonsense about protective shielding being raised, and that the ship is tumbling head over foot to the planet, to the moon below. Okay, there is no surviving this unless we're going to say that there is fancy shielding, which I guess is what they're going with, because otherwise this is dead. Okay, this isn't that the shuttle is coming in at an angle and they've got to pull up 10 degrees. No, this shuttle is barrel rolling from space. In fact, much like at the beginning of season 3, where Michael Burnham's suit just crashes into the planet, but they have special shields, so she lives. So I guess the entire shuttle has special shields so that, and don't know, not everybody lives. Everybody lives except a random straight dude. He dies. And you're like, well, how do you know he's straight? Well, I'll tell you how I know he's straight. Because last week when the random dude died, Michael Burnham came in at the end and told us about how he had a life partner and kids, and they deserve justice. And since Michael Burnham nor anyone comes in at the end and says that this dude had a partner, then, in fact, nobody ever brings him up again. Nobody says, should we go back for the body? Nobody wonders what happened to the body. Nobody says, wow, it's a real shame that so-and-so died. He is never mentioned again. Then I can believe that he is, in fact, a straight dude, because that's what happens to the straight men on Discovery. They die, and then they're never heard from again. Also, he looks mostly white. He might not be white. He might be Middle Eastern, but he looks mostly white. So I'm pretty sure no one expected him to live far into this episode either. Anyway, so they're trying to contact the USS Armstrong because that was where they were going to go back to for some reason instead of the Discovery. I guess the Discovery is at Navarre, but what does it matter? So they open the blast shuttle of the shuttle, the blast shuttle. Anyway, they expected they were going to be on a desert moon, but they're on a different moon. They're on an ice moon. So this is an L class. L class is breathable but environmentally hostile. No, L class is barely breathable. L class is not supposed to be a welcoming, and it's not supposed to have animals. But anyway, they have, so here's the situation. They've crash landed. They fucked up the definition of an L-class moon. Long-range sensors eventually find thousands of animals amassing outside. They eventually have to get their way away from the ship. And as it turns out, the animals that are amassing sense sense the electrical signals of their sense their electrical signals of their devices. So of course they're going to have to turn everything off and make a run for it. Anyway, who's going to make the run for it? Well, Tilly. I thought for sure they were going to remind us how Tilly won a marathon, so it was only logical that she make the run for it. But no, they didn't remind us of that, thankfully. But Tilly apparently was doing it because she's the oldest, I guess, which may or may not be the smartest decision Tilly's ever made. But you know what? They all have plot armor, so we know what's going to happen. Anyway, Tilly's cadets, they have a problem. They have, these cadets don't get along. One of them is an alien who was found himself behind Emerald Chain territory when the burn started, and he knows that his family was treated poorly by Orions, and so he's got a chip on his shoulder because one of the other people there is an Orion dude. And not only that, the Orion dude claims to be best in his class. He says, listen, as an Orion, I have to work twice as hard to prove he's really a good guy. So if you check Tilly, I'm first in the class. So we got this guy doesn't like the Orion. We got a random woman, a cadet. I forget her name, but she's a pilot. She wanted to help fix the shuttle before they crashed, but Tilly ordered her not to. God forbid somebody be the hero other than Tilly or Michael Burnham. Okay. So, we'll get back to Michael Burnham. Anyway, the Tilly and her cadets, here's what happens. They crash. There's monsters outside. They've got to run. We got a dead cadet. We leave him behind. Whatever. Nobody cares. So they realize they got to get away from the ship, and they've got to run up a ravine. If they get to the top of a ridge, then they should be able to contact the Armstrong, the USS Armstrong, using their personal communicators, based off of, I don't know, Tilly's intuition. So they go up, they make it, it should take them 20 minutes to run up this ridge. They do everything they can to slow this down. Everything they can to slow it down. Finally, they make it, and it works. Tilly, of course, is beamed away only a second before the monsters attack her. But remember, we were told there was thousands of monsters were getting ready outside the ship, amassing thousands of monsters. were amassing. Guess how many monsters we saw on screen? 2. 2 monsters. Why did they bother saying thousands? They didn't have to say thousands. They could have said there's at least 2. They could have said there's a handful. They could have said anything. It doesn't matter. They didn't have to say thousands. There were never thousands. The budget couldn't afford it. Okay. So they get beamed up, and we'll be honest. Tilly gets offered a permanent job at Starfleet Academy, and to my incredible surprise, she takes it. Tilly seemingly is leaving the show. Now, I don't know if we'll see her again or not. She tells Michael, of course, she'll be around, but I'm not sure. Tilly takes a full-time position at Starfleet Academy, which, you know what? Good for you, Tilly. I don't know if you'll be in the show again or not, but good for you. I don't know. I believe Tilly when she said the worst day of her life was the day she got her lieutenant pips. Her and Michael were talking before she left, going through, Michael came to her quarters and they had a little, girl talk, talked about the time Michael first got assigned to her quarters and how she was afraid Michael was going to stab her in the back in the middle of the night. And Michael said that she had to program the computer to silence Tilly's snoring, but she only did it for a few days. After a few days, she got to like the snoring. And they laughed and they laughed. And they had their goodbye and whatever. So back on Navarre, Michael and Saru are sitting, and they were told not to speak under any reason, for any reason. But of course, the Navarre president, the Federation president is Rilak. Tarina is the president of Navarre. And Tarina decides that she has a last-minute addition. Right before they're about to join the Federation, they need an exit clause. They need to be able to leave the Federation whenever they want, for no reason and with no recourse. And like President Relic is like, no, I can't do that. Then everybody's going to want an exit clause, and everybody's going to want to exit the Federation with zero recourse, and that's just not possible. She's like, don't get me wrong, the Federation is not going to keep you in, but we're going to have some discussion before you leave. Well, that apparently is not good enough for Tarina, which is a big problem, because that's not logical. But Michael Burnham, of course, decides to step in, and her and Saru try to do their best to get Navarre to stay. And of course, well, after 40 minutes or so, they come to the only solution they can. Michael Burnham will save the day because she is the one and only person in the entire universe who can. Because Michael Burnham is technically the only person in the galaxy who is a citizen of Navarre, even though she was a citizen of Vulcan. But now she's a citizen of Navarre. And also a Starfleet officer. So with that unique perspective, she offers to be part of a committee should Navarre ever seek to leave the Federation. Michael Burnham will head the committee that will make it most fair. She promises to be fair to both sides, so both presidents are happy with that. And again, a situation that could only be solved by Michael effing Burnham. How do you not get tired of this? Every season, everything is only Michael Burnham. Michael Burnham. Michael Burnham. Michael Burnham is the only one who can do this, who's the only one who can fly the suit. Michael Burnham is the only one who can find the red spots. Michael Burnham is the only one who can save Spock. Michael Burnham is the only one who can be bring the Navarians back into the Federation. It is effing ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Anyway, this episode, it's a relatively boring episode. But this is an episode of politics. A good part of this episode is Navarre Federation politics. We do get confirmation in this episode that the Federation president is indeed a Cardassian, a Bajoran, and a human. They talk about how Cardassians, Bajorans, and humans now live in peace, and that the president is a symbol of that peace. So that's something good to know. We actually also get confirmation that Dr. Kovich's name is in fact Kovich. That was never officially mentioned prior to this episode in dialogue. It was only shown, I believe, in the closed captioning. But in this episode, they actually tell us his name is Kovich. So, yeah. That's about it. It's a relatively boring episode, but it's not as terrible as last week's, I suppose. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 10. And yeah, it's severely disappointing. Severely disappointing. Qapla all, bird out.